Hello students. So today we are starting with our second poem from Flamingo, and the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum by Stephen Spender. One thing that Stephen Spender has mostly talked about social injustice or class inequalities. He always raised his voice for the marginalized, we can say, portion of society. And this poem also, that here the poet is talking about one school which is situated in slum area, and the complaint of the poet is that though the government has given a school to the slum children, but his complaint is that they do not bother whether these slum children are getting education in a proper way or not. This poem is having 4 paragraphs, and in order to learn what is there in the poem, I am giving you one tip how you would remember this poem. 4 paragraphs, 4 different things are discussed here by the poet. In the first paragraph, poet talks about slum children first of all. Okay, the condition of slum children he talks about. Then in the second paragraph, he talks about the classroom itself, the condition of the classroom of this primary school which is in slum area. In the third paragraph, this poet talks about the slum where they live. So first paragraph he talks about the slum children. In the second, he talks about the slum classroom, means classroom for these slum children of the school. And third paragraph, he talks about the slums where they live. And then in the concluding paragraph, here he is appealing to all those who can help these people, mean all those who have money. With money they can help, or if they are from the government, they have the power, they have the access to do something for the slum children. So he is appealing everybody that these slum children should be given freedom like other people, means they should get all the facilities which all the other people get in life. So let's start with the poem. Far, far from gusty waves. This poem is very rich with many symbols. Okay, so here first of all he says that, because he's talking about slum children, so here he says that these children are away from the physical strength, means far, far away from gusty waves. Means gusty waves means strength. Here he's trying to say that these slum children, they are always very thin, very slim, because they are malnourished. So they don't have that much energy in their body. These children's faces, he says, if you look at the faces of these children in the school, you will get to realize that these children are very weak physically, like rootless weeds. Then he compares these slum children with weeds. Weeds are unwanted plants. They grow on their own. Nobody takes care of them. So he says these slum children are like those weeds, because no society wants them, but even then, every big city is having slum. So these slum children are like weeds, and they are rootless. Why they are rootless? Because they don't have any family background. They do not know that they basically belong to which state, because their parents, their grandparents, they were always roaming from one place to another. So that's why they are not having any family roots. The hair torn round their collar. And then he says, if you look at these children when they come to school in the morning, they look very dirty. They don't have hygiene sense, because they don't have maybe that much soap, they don't have that much water that every day they take bath. So he says when they come to school, they are sometimes wearing dirty clothes, dirty shirts, and even their hair are not combed. Maybe even their face is also not washed properly. That's why their torn hair scattered on the forehead. The tall girl with her weighed down head. Then he says, if you look at the class, you look at the children in the class. Okay, he says, look at girl. Now here, though he's talking about one girl only, actually he's generalizing all the girls. He says, these girls in the slum, actually they are always having so many responsibilities on their shoulders, because their parents are both working, they are laborers, early morning they leave the home. So when the girl is even 4, 5, 6 year old, they start taking care of the younger brothers, sisters, and these girls start taking care of the home. So he says these girls, when they come to school, though the head is bent, but this head, according to this poet, this head is not bent for studying. It's not that she's reading some lesson. No, her head is bent because she has burden of household responsibilities on her shoulder. So here she's thinking that she's to complete many works which she has she has left unfinished. The paper seeming boy with rat's eyes. Then he says, if you look at the boys also don't look very healthy boys. Rather, they look very thin, paper like thin. Okay, they are very thin. Paper seeming means very thin boys. Why? Because they are malnourished. And then here he says rat's eyes. Why their eyes are compared to rat? Here again, this is we can say with rat's eyes means we can say this is metaphor, not simile, because like word is not used. But even then, he has compared boys' eyes with rats' eyes. Why rats' eyes? Because actually rats are always hungry and they are always searching for food. If they enter in a go down, maybe they will be entering in each and every corner of the go down. Even then, their hunger is not satisfied. So here he says, when these children come more in the morning to the school, actually they come sometime without food. They don't have that healthy breakfast at home. So they come hungry, and that's why here also they are not concentrating on studies. Rather, they are here thinking about food only. Okay, that's why rat size. The stunted, unlucky here of twisted bones. Then moreover he says that boys are normally, they are the successors, they are the heirs. They inherit from parents property, or we can say money or other things they inherit from parents. He says here, these slum boys, what they inherit? Their parents are not having property or money. So these children inherit only diseases which the parents are having. Means he's trying to say that by birth, through blood only, these slum children sometime get diseases only. So this is what they inherit. So this is actually ironical according to him. The stunted, unlucky here. Now stunted is actually twisted. He says that sometimes you will see that their bodies are twisted. What does it mean? That their bodies are not fully developed. Okay, maybe sometime in the womb of the mother or even after birth, because they don't get enough to eat. Okay, they don't get healthy food, they don't get any tonics, etc. So that's why sometimes their bodies are not fully developed. That's why stunted bodies, twisted bodies, and twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease. Gnarled is again twisted. This kind of, the bones are twisted, bones are not fully developed. So he says sometimes this is what happened with these children, and other people would exhibit the property papers or something to show that yes, this is what I have inherited. But what they exhibit here, reciting means exhibiting, showing to the world. So what they show to the world? The diseases only, the bodies they show, and the bodies would tell the story of the diseases which they inherit from their parents. His lesson from his desk. So he says these kind of children come and sit in the class and they take their lessons sitting at the desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. And then he talks about the back children. And he says their very sweet child is sitting, but he is also not concentrating on studies. What he is doing? His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. And he says this boy is continuously looking out of the window. Okay, and what he is looking out of the window, there is a tree, and in the tree maybe the squirrel has made its home, and the squirrel is going out and coming with food, more food, or collecting food, everything. Okay, this is kind of game that squirrel is playing like. Okay, and this boy is continuously looking at the squirrel only. He is not concentrating on studies. So maybe in a way he was trying, this poet is trying to say that even teacher is not bothered that whether backbenchers are studying or not. If backbencher is not looking at the teacher, not looking at the blackboard, rather he is looking out of the window, according to the poet, the teacher is not bothered. Okay, so this is the first part of this poem. Okay, so we end here only. You just read 2-3 times this passage and very easily you will get the meaning very clear. Thank you.